We've been living in the era of data, a time where everyone is in the game of acquiring and building these data sets that give us leverage and differentiation in the space that we play.
Marketing Architects.
Hello, and welcome to the Marketing Architects, a research-first podcast dedicated to answering your toughest marketing questions. I'm Elena Jasper. I run the marketing team here at Marketing Architects, and I'm joined by my co-hosts, Angela Voss, the CEO of Marketing Architects, and Rob DeMars, the Chief Product Architect of Misfits and Machines.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hi, guys.
We're back with our thoughts on some recent marketing news, always trying to root our opinions in data, research, and what drives business results. Today, we're talking about AI and market research. Specifically, how can you use LLMs and synthetic audiences to conduct market research more efficiently and perhaps more effectively too? And I know we have a lot to discuss and a lot of opinions and experiences to share, but as always, I'm going to kick us off with some research. This is a study, and it's titled Out of One, Many, Using Language Models to Simulate Human Samples by Lisa P. Argyle, Ethan C. Busby, Nancy Folda, Joshua Gubler, Christopher Ridding, and David Wingate from Brigham Young University. This study explores using language models like GPT-3 to mimic human responses in social science research, which, as we know, traditionally relies heavily on surveys and experiments involving real humans, which are time-consuming and costly. The authors propose that advanced language models can serve as stand-ins for humans. The team focused on GPT-3, which is a now more dated language model by OpenAI, and essentially they asked this: can GPT-3 produce outputs that are so close to human responses that they can be used reliably in place of actual people? And to test this, they conducted 3 studies. In study 1, they had GPT-3 generate lists of words describing political partisans. They found that the words produced by this model closely matched those by humans. For example, both humans and GPT-3 described Democrats and Republicans using consistent, stereotypical terms that varied based on the describer's own political leanings. In study 2, they explored vote prediction. So they conditioned GPT-3 on demographic data from real voters, and then they assessed whether the model could predict voting patterns. And the results showed a high degree of accuracy, with GPT-3's predictions closely mirroring actual voting behaviors. And the third study took this even a step further by examining complex correlations in survey data. So GPT-3 was conditioned with various demographic and attitudinal information and then asked to predict responses to closed-end survey questions. The findings reveal that the model succeeded at replicating individual human responses. So why is this significant? It means that researchers can use these models to ask survey questions, explore hypotheses, and even conduct preliminary analyses before using humans. This means faster, more cost-effective research without sacrificing depth and accuracy. I'll also add that it was not hard to find academic research supporting the use of LLMs for market research. There's a surprising amount out there for what feels like a short amount of time since ChatGPT was shared broadly. But let's begin with the implications for our audience, which are marketers. This feels like a really, really big deal for any marketer who wants to understand their audience on a deeper level.
It's funny to me. Is it funny to you guys? Like AI related, they go straight to politics. Let's just go right to like where the the most drama can happen. But yeah, I mean, I think this is a huge deal. You know, I know we're going to talk about the skepticism that exists with the leverage of LLMs for market research, so I won't go into that now, but I'll just say that even outside of the research that you found, Elena, our own experience has been, I would say, very eye-opening in terms of how LLMs will change the game on consumer research. We're generally an agency that is very tech-first minded, and we love being early testers and adopters of new technology. We were testing drive-to-texting QR codes long before the world was ready for them. But I would say that marketers that aren't exploring these new ways of gaining consumer insight are at risk of a big miss that their competitor may well already be taking advantage of.
I feel like comparing what is now emerging with synthetic audiences to kind of the old ways is like comparing a Tesla to a tricycle. The speed to insight is so much faster, the scalability, your ability to do like rare scenario testing in terms of different audience possibilities is so cool. And one thing that I hadn't even really thought about till someone had brought it up recently is even just privacy compliance. there's so much around when you're dealing with different humans, you have to respect certain levels of privacy, where with an LLM, you don't have those same kind of implications. So it really is an amazing time to be a researcher in marketing.
As a marketer in my role, that was what I'm personally most excited about, because it just opens up the possibility to create better marketing, I think, because you would love to be able to test your ideas against your audience and learn as much about your audience as you can. Like, that's your job, but there's only so much time. And now this just gives you the ability to, I think, set up your campaigns for success. But we know that there's been recent news about synthetic audiences, particularly in our little sphere of marketing, which came from John Lombardo and Peter Weinberg. They recently announced their new company, and surprise, it has to do with AI and like synthetic research. And I noticed that it went pretty viral and a lot of people were really supportive, but there was also a high amount of concern and doubt. Why do we think that there's like also all this skepticism that comes with using LLMs for market research?
I think just the nature of change at this level in itself is going to draw a lot of haters. Haters gonna hate. We like our ways of working. We like to improve incrementally upon those ways of working. Drastic changes to how we draw insight, especially when it relates to humans, starts to trickle into a major drama argument. But I think beyond just the change that's happening, I would say that brands and marketers are concerned about accuracy and authenticity. One of the primary concerns is whether synthetic audiences can really capture the nuance and complexity of human behavior and decision making. The data used to train LLMs might contain inherent biases, which could lead to skewed or unrepresentative outputs. Some brands worry that these biases could influence the research results, leading to poor decision making. We've been doing research the way we've been doing it. We've been using real humans, and so we value that data. So this is coming to us in a different fashion. I think the thing to remember is it's still human data. It's a lot of human data.
I'll never forget when I first got an iPhone, and I was so proud of it, and I was showing it to a colleague who was a diehard BlackBerry fan. And he's like, "That's dumb. There's no buttons on it." I just think that that's the natural reaction when you have really disruptive technology enter into your space. And that's not a hater thing. It's human nature, right? It's just people, they will question anything that's new. And I think we're going to be dealing with a lot of these questions for a while, but I still believe in a year from now, it'll be over.
I also think there's maybe a bias in marketing, well, actually in general, that if something costs more, it must be better. And that's something we deal with. We have an offering called All-Inclusive TV where we offer something that costs a lot less, but is higher quality. And that's something we battle constantly. Like, don't use the word free, because people, like, they hear that, or they hear it's low cost and they think that means low quality. And there's a lot of companies that have a lot of money in market research. And I could see how that can be a barrier for marketers too. It's like, yeah, it actually is faster. It's still accurate and it's less costly. Like, it almost sounds a little too good to be true.
This technology puts a lot of market research companies out of business. And I think, just to flat out say it, you don't need to be fielding responses. There's whole networks of organizations that's all they do is field people for consumer research. And they're in jeopardy right now. It's natural for people to be scared when something so disruptive comes into place, and it brings the cost down to zero in many cases.
Well, one thing I wanted to talk about was this kind of data that you need to run these sort of models. And this study focused on GPT-3, not like some sort of unique data set that they had. And that's been a big topic recently. Do we need some type of specialized data or like a specialized LLM to conduct this type of market research?
We've been living in the era of data, a time where everyone is in the game of acquiring and building these data sets that give us leverage and differentiation in the space that we play. And while we're still in the early days of generative AI, I think an area that I was surprised by is whether or not proprietary data can improve a broad general set of data, like what ChatGPT is trained on. There was an interesting story. Bloomberg invested more than $10 million to train a GPT-3 3.5 level AI using their exclusive proprietary financial data, only to discover that GPT-4 8K version, the AI accessible to billions globally and lacking any specific finance training, outperformed it on nearly all financial tasks. So not on all, but we believe that proprietary data would enable organizations to develop specialized AIs. And I think there's still, like I said, we're in the very early days, but I think generally speaking, generalized data sets have been a lot more valuable than probably a lot of us thought.
These LLMs have eaten the world, right? And it's really how do we build on top of them to mine the information that's already there in meaningful ways. That Bloomberg article was amazing. We're seeing it. It's so true. Just the intelligence that's within these major platforms, whether it's Claude or GPT-4o, Perplexity, they just all keep getting better, stronger, smarter, and faster.
We talked about cost being too good to be true. I think that fact also hits me in the same way. That can't be. It can't be that like any brand could use something like ChatGPT for their audience. Like it should be harder than this. It's almost too easy, but sorry, Rob, you look like you're just so excited. I don't know if you want to say something.
No, I think that's where us marketers have to get over ourselves. I think we feel like we have to have some special lightsaber in order to be a Jedi. And quite honestly, the ability to have insightful consumer insights being democratized.
We do need lightsabers to be a Jedi. You're just going to have to find a different one.
All right, this analogy is getting complicated.
We just got real nerdy, showing our true colors.
Oh gosh.
A Jedi you will be.
Okay. All right. Well, if this makes any marketer a Jedi, so any marketer now can access something like ChatGPT and start running market research, start using it to understand their audience. What are some tactical or like practical things that they could start doing?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. Like I couldn't even go through them all. But starting with something like sentiment analysis, right? We could be using ChatGPT 4o to analyze social media posts, reviews, forums, gauging consumer sentiment towards products. We could be using it for trend identification, customer feedback analysis. We could be using it to build personas, right? Analyzing like demographic and psychographic data and help create detailed personas that you can use from your marketing perspective, competitive analysis, journey mapping. Like there's so much. I think the big move to think about though, because essentially anything that you're doing right now, you should be able to, in some capacity, use an LLM for, and obviously do testing and stuff like that. But a bigger move to think about is what weren't you doing with your traditional methods, right? Maybe due to time or to the cost of the research, marketers are doing harm to their brand, I think, by becoming customer obsessed versus what customers aren't you focused on today and how could you create relevance with that audience? In a world where research is democratized, how do you lean into better understanding how to grow in areas where maybe yesterday you weren't?
Dear God, you just rattle off all of the uses. Good job, Ange. I would concur with all that she was talking about. Product feature prioritization. There's just so many things. It's your best friend. This is literally your marketing department that doesn't sleep, that's at your fingertips, that is helping you from the beginning stages of a campaign development, the ideation, all the way through execution. It's your companion all the way through. I think the term that's been popularized of co-pilot is probably overused, but also completely appropriate.
One thing that we're doing that I think every marketing team probably should do is we created our persona in ChatGPT, and then we're running by like marketing ideas and copy. Like that just feels like something that's going to become a given. Just like SEO is a given for marketing teams. Like you should have an LLM persona. They're so easy to make, especially with ChatGPT, that you can run stuff by.
That is such a good point, Elena. If you are not using the GPT builder in 4.0, you are really missing out because it saves you so much future time to just be able to create a creative brief builder or script writers. All those things can be hammered out through those GPT builders.
It's way easier, I think, than a lot of people realize. Even when they hear it's easy, they're still like, oh, I don't know. It's like, no, trust me.
No, that's where people do think you're a Jedi when you unload one of those bad boys and you're like, this took me literally 2 minutes and you don't have to code anything. You just actually have a conversation with it and it walks you through it. Like, it doesn't get easier.
Well, one thing that we've done with LLMs and synthetic audiences that wasn't quite as easy to build as creating a persona of your target audience is we've been using them to pretest TV commercials. We've been doing this for a while now, but this week we're officially announcing publicly that we have a new tool to do this called ScriptSooth. So before we get too much into ScriptSooth, Rob, I wanted to know if you could walk us through like a Rob history lesson on traditional pretesting, what we used to do at MA, and what we're doing today with ScriptSooth.
Absolutely. Taylor, hit that music.
It's time for Rob's History Lesson 3.
All right, so let's travel back in time to the early 20th century when marketing folks started realizing that understanding consumer behavior was a key to creating killer ads. Back then, pretesting was a bit of a guessing game. You're talking about relying on word of mouth and casual feedback. But things really started to get serious in the 1930s and 40s when market research techniques kicked off, kind of became a thing. One of the OG methods was the focus group, thanks to the sociologist Robert K. Merton. Picture this, a small group, a mixed bag of consumers chatting about their thoughts on ads. These discussions gave advertisers the lowdown on consumer attitudes and preferences, helping them tweak their messages to hit that sweet spot. Now you zoom into the 1950s and the 1960s. Creative pretesting has gotten a bit more scientific. Surveys were all the rage, with advertisers running large-scale polls to get the scoop on consumer opinions and habits. These surveys were gold mines for spotting trends and preferences across various groups. Enter experimental designs, another game changer. This approach involved showing different ad versions to separate groups and measuring their reactions. By comparing these responses, marketers could pinpoint which elements of the ads were hitting home. Now in the 1970s and the 80s, marketers started to embrace their inner scientist, if you will. Eye tracking studies and psychological measurement came into scene, adding a high-tech twist to pretesting. Eye tracking tech let researchers see exactly where viewers were gazing, where their eyeballs were landing on the ad, revealing which part grabbed their attention, which was ignored, which is perfect for optimizing ad layouts. Then psychological measurements came to scene, measuring heart rate and GSR, which is actually measuring your skin response. When viewing an ad, it would measure the reactions that were occurring. This objective data helped marketers understand the emotional punch of their ads, leading to more impactful ads. And now, today, the age of the digital revolution, the internet and tech advancements transformed creative pretesting into a sleek, speedy, and super accurate process. Online surveys and panels became a staple, following marketers to gather insights from a vast audience quickly and affordably. With online platforms, they could segment respondents to ensure feedback was spot on for their target market. And that really takes us into, I'm going to sort of end the history lesson a bit there right now. I'm going to talk a little bit about some history that we've been having here at Marketing Architects in partnership with Misfits and Machines. For many years, we've done the online focus group, and it's been very successful for us. We have fielded respondents, shown animatics, which are those fake TV commercials that look like cartoons, to hundreds of people in the audiences. It's been really loved by our clients. We've gained a ton of consumer insight from that. But we also recognized this is sort of going to be the way of the old, and that there is a whole new era that's entering with LLMs, as we've been talking about today. We really recognize the future is in synthetic audiences, and there's so much opportunity to be harvested here. Marketing Architects, in partnership with Misfits and Machines, is launching ScriptSooth. ScriptSooth is built on top of LLMs and is able to predict the effectiveness of TV commercials using synthetic audiences. The tests no longer are needed to run as animatics. They can literally be Word documents. We've been stress testing ScriptSooth against our own database of known outcomes in market, and it's been incredibly accurate. And to be honest with you, it's been more accurate than our online survey panels have been. So MA clients can now test infinitely more ideas. The speed at which they can now test is minutes versus weeks. So it truly is a really exciting launch for us. And we hope that our clients really reap the rewards of being able to move this quickly and with greater insight than they were even being offered before, which was pretty terrific.
Yeah, it's super exciting. We're very thankful to the Misfits team for all the help that they gave in ideation and development of the platform. Rob, we, as an agency, we weren't always doing pre-testing. Back in our radio days and even in our early television days, we were big believers in market, in market, in market. That was where you got the read, right? I think once we launched television, we would use radio as kind of a pre-testing. It was a quicker read, obviously less expensive in terms of production to get into radio, but we were sort of like naysayers of pre-testing. I think in the traditional sense of like, will a consumer, even though they like it, will they buy it? And being so wired to performance, that was something that we were always really watching out for. And so it's always been really important to us to ensure that we could leverage the data that we had, which was what truly did drive performance, regardless of what someone said, and to be able to reverse engineer first with ESP Now and now with ScriptSooth on a much more meaningful level, just given the speed and agility of this platform. Like, it just is a massive value add to the space. So super excited about it.
I did not believe in pre-testing earlier in my career. I thought it was a bunch of hocus pocus. It took too long. It didn't really tell you anything. And it wasn't until we were able to do what we do best, which is we do so much testing in market, and to see the real results that occurred, and then to be able to build a methodology around matching those results, that's when it became critical. But it definitely, I think there's a lot of hocus pocus. I'm going to get a lot of probably hate mail from this, but there's a lot of BS in that whole arena. And being able to have something that's truly honest and be able to really predict our clients' in-market results is really important for us and meaningful.
Well, I think too, we were talking about how these like generic LLMs are so powerful. I think the creation of ScriptSooth is a nice example of where expertise matters, because like we as an agency have this history of pre-testing. We have the data of what's worked, and that helped us build something that's unique and proprietary. That's the opportunity for every brand. What data do you have? What do you know that nobody else does? And then how do you lean into it? But I'm super excited about ScriptSooth. I think it's amazing. And I can't wait to see the type of commercials that are coming out of the agency in the next couple of months. Now that we have this kind of superpower, it's going to be fun. Well, final question. Speaking of AI, it's going to change a lot of things in the future. It already is, both in our work lives and in our regular day lives. So what is one potential AI future that you wish would get here sooner rather than later?
I am so excited, and I know I'm going to echo the sentiment of many people out there. When Siri becomes smarter than a preschooler, it's going to be amazing. When I can have a conversation with Siri and she will, or he, which depending on what voice setting I choose, it orders me an Uber and picks me up a little Jimmy John's, it's going to be nirvana. I don't know if I'm going to talk to humans anymore, actually, after that. I don't even know if I'm going to talk to you guys. I'm just going to talk to Siri and the world will be a better place.
Yeah, that was going to be mine, Rob. I have a backup because I had a feeling you were going to say Siri. But yes, she's so annoying right now. I can't wait for her to be upgraded.
Well, mine is not Siri related. Mine is self-driving cars at scale. Let's go. I'm so ready for that. I have a 16-year-old that doesn't have her license yet. And if it could just, get here a little quicker.
I think that the technology will outpace the regulation there, unfortunately.
Yeah. There's a lot of regulation that needs to get figured out with AI. Let's just put that at the top of the list.
That's true.
That's funny. Like, you're right, Rob, but there's also like pushback in self-driving cars. They've shown in San Francisco, they still have accidents, but it's so much less than normal humans. But people would prefer to be hit by a normal human than a self-driving car, even if your chance is way lower, which is kind of sad. But my backup was kind of similar, and I'm excited for robots in my house. Mm-hmm. Like a robot that I can go tell to make my bed and bring me coffee. I'm excited. I know that's pretty far away, but I want like a cute little personal robot to just follow me around.
You have a Roomba?
I do have a Roomba. Yeah, but it's not the same. Like, I want to be able to command it. I want.
You're the only human I know that owns a Roomba.
Really?
I was actually trying to be funny there for a minute. Oh, you actually own a Roomba?
Yeah, of course.
Wow.
Roombas are great. How do you not have a Roomba with a dog?
I didn't think people really. You guys have a Roomba, so you have a little thing that's running around right now, just
not
in the
right
background.
Now, at night.
Do you give it treats and stuff?
No.
It does sometimes. It gets stuck quite a bit, to be honest.
It freak me out.
Well, future gift for Rob, apparently. I'm
Yeah.
surprised you. Rob, you have every gadget you could possibly imagine. How don't you have a Roomba?
Because it's stupid.
Yeah, says the guy that owns the Vision Pro goggles.
This is true. This is true.
That's it for this episode of The Marketing Architects. We'd like to thank Ayana Klaphocky for producing the show and Taylor De Los Reyes for editing. You can connect with us on LinkedIn, and if you find the show valuable, please leave us a rating and review. And if you'd like to hear more from us, subscribe to our weekly email newsletter. It's built for marketers seeking research-first analysis of the latest trends. You can go to marketingarchitects.com/newsletter to subscribe. Now go forth and build great marketing.
Dude, I'm recording a podcast. Good God. I'm actually surprised that doesn't happen more.
An AI robot will never do that to you.
Yes, exactly.
Marketing Architects.